team. Welcome to PMGT 1030, week 8. Woo woo. Here we go. So this week we're going to really focus on the final, which is your business case, and we're going to focus a little bit on scope. We'll have scope in later courses as an entire course for the Bachelor of Science students called requirements or requirements management. So you'll get much more of that. It's essential, though, to everything we do. And so the number one reason projects fail is because of scope. There's scope creep, which maybe some of you have heard of. That's when you have your set scope or requirements for a project, and they begin to grow because you add this or you add that and you add something else along the way. Scope creep, and you never finish it or it's not right because you kept doing these changes, these additions in an uncontrolled fashion. Then there's scope gap. Scope gap happens when, for example, you start out too fast. The boss says, go, I need it now. And you didn't take the time to collect the requirements. And so you've got lanes of requirements, but gaps in between because you didn't take the time to study them or connect them or challenge them. Scope gap. And then there's scope change. We implement changes. Changes affect scope, but in the end, it's not implemented the way it was seen fit. Other problems with change is that either the change is not identified before the project starts. So before a project begins, where I work, I always make sure I do a document review of previous projects or similar projects. I do stakeholder interviews, key stakeholder interviews. I determine a series of about 10 or 12 questions, schedule 30 minutes with key personnel, and ask them the questions. Take all the answers back, put them in a matrix in Excel, and then develop my scope statement and my requirements from that. And the other problem is that even if a requirement is identified, do we complete it? Sometimes we've identified it but not completed it. So I like to use a requirements traceability matrix. We'll talk about that in the lectures this week. As you work then to build your business case, think of how you would glean, not just write fancy words, but how are these concepts able to deliver for you requirements, right? Think of how scope can be gleaned from the business case. This is what you would want as a project manager as you accept the business case and begin your charter preparation, project charter and project planning. This is really what you'd want to make this thing a success right out the door. Sure, the business case will also provide likely other constraints or assumptions that you'll build into your project, into your charter, and your planning documents. However, get the scope right early. Remember this concept. If a requirement is not found out and it's a legitimate requirement, it will be determined eventually. Of this, I have no doubt. The longer you wait, the more costly it is and the more risk it is to your schedule, to your budget, and other items. So, by the way, I just wanted to share some great aspects of a business case that you may consider including. One would be an executive summary at the top of your business case. You also might want to include a short description of current processes that will impact then process improvement options. Options are a little bit about your project. You'd want to include maybe the goal or scope of the project and then list the requirements. Maybe an evaluation of the options or courses of action, sometimes it's called COAs. And you might want to do a cost analysis, sometimes is helpful. Again, the numbers are notional. It's about translating the scenario into a great business case, okay? You might consider opportunity costs in your analysis, or key cost metrics might also be helpful. And all of this at a very high level. Remember, your charter is considered high level, so this would be very high level. And from your scenario largely, feel free to fill in the gaps. You might also include a recommended solution. And don't forget any references, okay? Turn in the business case by December 12th, and that's why I opened it up last week, so you can begin to work on it. Do the readings, review the slides, and the lecture. Don't forget the scope quiz. No discussion this week. Use that time to finalize these projects. Okay? I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to a great, strong final week. Let's finish strong, and I'll see you out there. Don't forget, connect, I recommend, on LinkedIn with your team members here in this class. You've already begun to know each other. It's a good networking opportunity, myself included, if you want to. Okay, thanks.